Tonight, man, I'm just so excited. I can't even tell you, man, we could just go on and on and on for hours and not even think twice about it. I just love the worship. I love who our God is. You know, as we keep singing often, you know, this is our God. And, you know, when that song about I love you more, what really spurred my heart towards that, those words, really came when we preached on surrender a couple weeks ago. And what surrender really means and what surrender really looks like. And I've really had to look at my life and talk to myself and go, hey, you know, David, do you love me more than all these other things? Because you know, y'all are all well aware, you can never please everybody, right? I mean, true story, right? But when you do something and somebody makes a crack at it or does whatever, it gets at your heart, you know what I mean? Well, right? I mean, you know you can't please everybody, but doesn't it still sting a little bit? And God's like, you know, David, who are you serving? Who are you coming to? And I was like, well, you. And why are you letting that bother you? Oh, Lisa, about 4 or 5 years ago, she realized that I come home and if she wasn't able to be here, for those of you who don't know, Lisa's my wife, if she wasn't able to be up here for the message, she'd ask me, you know, well, how did it go when I got home? And I was like, there's a lot of times I started saying, I honestly have no idea. And she's like, well, did you preach what God told you to? Yeah. Well, then it went great. I'm like, I don't know, because, man, I had a couple blank stares, and I had this, David. You know who know my wife, seriously? You know. She's like, David, did you do what God told you to do? Yes. Had you been praying about it? Yes. Then you're fine. If you sought God, that's the one whose attention you were supposed to seek when you brought His word. It was God. I'm like, well, I know that, but come on. And she always reminds me, she's such a faithful reminder of that. And when we talked about surrender a couple weeks ago, it really kind of came back to me about that verse, even in Samuel, you know, that I will not turn around and offer up something to God that costs me nothing. And I have to really think, is there something that maybe I want sometimes more than God? More than God. And I know that we all like to say in our Christian flesh at church, of course not. God is all I want. Oh. But come on, baby. You know when you get out in public, it's a new day, isn't it? And sometimes when you're around your family, maybe. Sometimes when you're like out, you know, on a Friday night somewhere, on a Saturday night somewhere, that I love you more doesn't always necessarily refer to this as our God, right? I mean, let's be honest. We have our moments. Why? Because we're people. We are human. We screw up. We make mistakes. That is reality. That is straight up reality, and it gets no more real than that. No more real than that. That's why all of us have to remember all the time, more than glory, more than honor, more than power, more than fame, riches, whatever, more than anything, I love you more because I need you more. And there's moments that I don't know I need God, but I need God. You know what I'm saying? There's moments I have no clue, and God's going, I got you, and I'm thinking, why do you have me? I'm good. And He's like, really? You have no clue which is coming around the corner to you. Trust me. You want me to have you. And He holds me. And He holds you. And I love, there's a story that is very familiar to a lot of people that know the Bible. We've been doing some of those kind of stories, but kind of taking it from a different angle as we talked about diverge and getting on that narrow road. But there's a story where Jesus deals with a woman caught in adultery. And we've all heard it in a lot of ways, but I want to bring that story back up tonight because there's moments that in this story, Jesus looks like He's doing something totally contradictory to what the Old Testament always said people ought to do. And really at the same time, Jesus didn't do anything different. He was actually spot on with how it was supposed to be. He was spot on. And it makes us think about how we are. How do we act? How do we act with people? How do we react with people? What do we do? Where do we run when stuff goes on? And so if you'll open your Bibles to John chapter 8, and we'll have it up there if you guys don't have a Bible with you, no big deal. But John chapter 8, starting in verse 1, we're going to read verses 1 through 11. John 8, 1 through 11. Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, and at dawn He appeared again in the temple courts, where all the people gathered around Him, and He sat down to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. they made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Hey, teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now what do you say?" They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and he started to write on the ground with his finger. And when they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "If any one of you is without sin, let him be the first to throw a stone at her." Then again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left, while the woman was still standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she said. "Then neither do I condemn you," Jesus declared. "Go now and leave your life of sin." I love this. You know, actually, I'm going to give you one more passage real quick in John 7, because I want you guys to just see the dynamic that was going on here. So flip over to John 7 for me. Put the first verse up there. Verse 25, yeah, 25 to 27. Here we go. At that point, some of the people of Jerusalem began to ask, "Isn't this the man they're trying to kill? Here he is speaking publicly, and they are not saying a word to him. Have the authorities really concluded that he's the Christ? But we know where this man's from. When the Christ comes, no one will know where he's from." I wanted to get that to you because I wanted you to get the idea of what's going down here. At this point in time, the Pharisees and teachers of the law were already trying to find a way to trap Jesus. They did not want to just trap him to put him in jail. They wanted to kill him. Their plan was death. Okay? They wanted to kill Jesus. They wanted to get him, take him out, get him done with, be gone with him. That was their desire. That was the plan. We already know that. And the people knew it. The crowd knew what was going on. So it would be like my junior boys wanting to kill me. Thanks. And everybody else knows it. So imagine that conversation. You know the junior boys will take me out. You know it's going to happen. You know they're trying to figure out how to do it. And you're just kind of like waiting like, when's old Murphy going to get up and go after him? What's he doing? What's he doing? Every now and then kind of shifting the eyes of Tyler to some of their, you know, some of y'all spot some of the other junior boys in the room, you know. But that's the deal. That's what was going on. And these people are like, so have they concluded he's the Christ? Why are they not saying anything? Thinking that the Pharisees and teachers of the law have backed off, maybe, because they thought they wanted to kill him, but they're seeing Jesus do stuff, and they're like, are they letting him go? Are they just letting him be now? What's going on? Because they knew that they wanted him dead. So the Pharisees come in, and you can't communicate the story without putting the picture in your head. So those of you that know this and know this story, just walk with me again, because the story is reality. It's true. We know that it's true because it's in the Word of God. This thing happened. Okay? This is not some fictional fairy tale. This happened. These men, these leader men, they were leaders of the Jewish people. They went and they grabbed a woman caught in the act of adultery. Not caught after the act of adultery. Hello? Not caught before the act of adultery. You follow? Caught in the act of adultery. We can try to play games with the words. That is what it is. Caught in the act of adultery. They grabbed her and they brought her to Jesus. And they're like, all right, this is what the law says. Back in Deuteronomy 22:22. Man, it says, hey, somebody's caught in adultery, you got to stone them. But actually the verse really says is if the man and the woman get caught in adultery, you actually do it to both. Who did they bring to Jesus? The woman. I wonder who the guy was. Because we know this was a trap. Just saying. How did he get off the hook? But I love what the Pharisees think that they're doing. And I love how Jesus proves what a man really is. What a man's supposed to be. The actions we're supposed to take. These Pharisees are like, this is what the law says. Now what do you say? They were not looking at Jesus like, hey, Tanner, I got a question. Hey, man, you know, this woman's caught in adultery. What are we going to do? No. They wanted to kill him, remember? They were after him. They were arrogant. They're bringing this woman caught in adultery like Jesus doesn't know everything. Hello? He was well aware. what do you say? This is what the Bible says. What do you say? Remember, Jesus has already said, he did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law. The law. He came to be the completion of what the Bible is supposed to be. He came to show that full heart of the Bible alive. That's who he came to be. I'm going to show this is all. It's all here. So the Pharisees know that in the Bible it says, you stone that piece of trash. That's what they're thinking. That's what they're thinking. And they're ready to roll. And I love Jesus' first response. He gets down and he starts doodling in the sand. Now mind you, we've done this, we've actually done a skit like with this kind of thing, and we always throw the woman on the ground. She's actually standing the whole time. They stood this woman caught in adultery before the crowd. Can you say awkward and embarrassing for her? Can you say humiliating for her? Think about that for just a second. I don't care what she did. I don't care what her actions were. Who deserves that? Brought before the crowd. And was it even about her? They were using her to get to somebody else. But I love the fact that Jesus just gets down and he starts doodling. And it's so funny because everybody's like, what was he doodling in the sand? Do you think he was doodling what their sins were? Do you think he was doing this? I doubt that he was doodling what their sins were, because all he had to do, because you'll notice he stands up and he says, very plainly, after they, by the way, keep questioning, he's down here doodling in the sand, okay? And in verse 6, they were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. He bends down, writes on the ground with his finger. Verse 7, when they kept on questioning him, he straightened up. So follow me here. You got these Pharisees, and they're all like, what's going on, what's going on? What do you say? He gets down and he starts doodling in the sand. If he wanted to call these people out, all he had to do was start going down the line. Hey, Jordan, this is your business. Just saying, Ralph, here's your laundry. Hey, Britton, here's yours. And wouldn't that have been kind of fair? Because what were they doing with this girl? Didn't they just flash this girl in front of everybody for her sin? Didn't they do that, Robert? Did they? Yeah? They did. They're humiliating this woman. So in fairness, eye for an eye, right? Why can't he start calling out all their business? I think Jesus is man enough that if he was going to call out their business, he would call it out on the spot. I'm not so sure he was doodling it in the sand. He may have been writing something like, I don't know. What does the Lord require of you to act justly, love mercy, walk humbly with your God? Maybe. But they kept questioning him and they kept pressuring him. If he was writing their sins, I doubt they'd be pressuring him. So finally, Jesus stands up, and I love it. He didn't even respond. He didn't even say, what do you say, Jesus? What do you say we ought to do? And I love that Jesus doesn't say, here's what you do. I love that he knows that these Pharisees are just coming at him. He knows that has nothing to do with this woman. So I love what he does. He's like, all right, Eli, it does say to stone her, so if you're without sin, go for it. Go for it. Does he tell them what to do? He didn't tell them at all. He didn't tell them at all. Last time, verse 7, if any one of you is without sin, let him be the first to throw a stone at her. You perfect, baby? Go ahead. By all means, please. I'll stay aside and get a good shot. And then he gets back down and doodles some more in the sand. How many of y'all have ever been in a situation where you have that last nerve of yours, you know what I'm saying? And there's that one person that comes over there and starts jumping all up on it. Anybody ever been there? Anybody been there this week at all? Right, you know what I'm saying? Right? And you're like, Jesus tells you how to deal with that. Stop and draw. Just saying.
Stop and draw.
Keep your mouth shut and doodle. Okay? Because Jesus was a man, I'm just saying. He was God made man. We know that he was perfect, but what made him perfect was his actions. He had a will. He had the opportunity. And people dumb that down. Well, no, he's God made man, and we know that he was perfect, and we play it off like he didn't have a choice. Jesus did have a choice. He did. He could have sinned if he chose to sin. Now, if he chose to sin, could he have been a sacrifice for our sin? No. Remember in the garden, not my will, but thine be done. Who was he? He was saying, it's not about me. I don't want to do this for them people because they're wearing me out, but here you go. I'm going to do what you're calling me to do because I love you more. So I'm going to do what you call me to do. Jesus didn't have to respond in peace. But he was calm. He chilled out. He said, all right. You want that sin? Go ahead. And he got back down and doodled some more. Now, notice what happened. And be clear about this, because I think sometimes when we hear the going away, we think they went far away. I'm going to clarify that in a second. The Pharisees, the teachers of the law, started to go away, starting with who? The oldest. You know why? Because they're not stupid. And I'm not calling young people stupid, but I want you to follow me on this one. A lot of times, as we age, we get into these seasons of life like, I don't need anybody, I've got this on my own. Right? Lisa, I love what she said about her mom one day. We were talking. She said that in high school her mom was an idiot. And it was amazing. The day she went off to college, her mom became like a genius overnight. She's like, Mom, where was all this knowledge when I was growing up? What am I saying? She could care less to listen to her mom in high school. But when she got out of high school and she hit the real world, it was like, oh, that's reality. We got to be engaged in each other's lives. You know what I'm saying? And the older, I'm loving some of the Aberdeen, the leadership type stuff, could be leading some of the younger and all this whatnot. And I'm loving that because those middle schoolers, you guys that were in here earlier, dude, half of them, they're just hyper-spastic and fun. True story? I mean, come on. They're hyper-spastic and fun. They're a lot of fun. And some of them have some really neat things to say, but you know what? A number of them are hungry. And they are hungry for, like, teach me, show me. I want to be like you. I was watching someone come over to Kevin like he's a god. You know? Kevin's over there, I get it. Or all this spirits, man, around here like his little flock. You know what I'm saying? Because he's it. And if Kevin, follow me on examples, if Kevin turned around and said, I'm done, and walked out the door, odds are the 6th grade boys that were right there at his feet would follow. Just saying. Just saying. Because see, we have influence. Tyler Ballard on Saturday, when we meet up here with some leadership stuff, there were a couple moments where he just spoke out. And it was cool because I was able to tell my wife at home, I was like, Tyler didn't like, actually nobody really dominated any conversations, but I was like, Tyler didn't dominate conversation. But it was like when Tyler spoke and said something, it was like you knew that everybody was like, what's he saying? What's he got to share? And there were others like that as well. That older, listen. I know that when we've been gone off at camps or other things, and I've taken groups out to lead or groups on mission, when we've gone somewhere that maybe I've been before, let's just say I took all of you and we all went together to Uganda. Okay? So load up, let's go. We're in Uganda now. And we get there. Are you just going to take off and have a free-for-all? Or are you going to most likely be like, David, what do we do now? Aren't you going to be like, David, what are we going to do now, probably? You're going to look for that guidance. These older ones were like, yeah, he's got us on this one. You can see all of sin and fall short of the glory of God. I'm out. Dropped the stone and walked away. And it just trickled on down to the youngest. You seniors, you have no clue the powerful influence you have over everybody behind you. Shannon, you got no idea. Larry Landon, you got no idea. Hey, sophomore ladies, you have no idea who's watching you. I'll help all y'all people out. Almost every high school girl. I know that my daughter's watching y'all. She names names. In a good way. In a good way. But I know she's watching your moves. And I love that because I'm like, one night I was like, Jenna, just come over here with the high schoolers. Because high school girls, she loves you. And I guarantee you, if one of you high school girls said, hey, Jenna, this is the direction we're going to go, you know what she's probably going to do? Follow you. Because she trusts you. Not just at church, though, people. School. What's your influence at school? What's your influence? We talk about that sometimes. What do you have? Are you using it? These older Pharisees, they knew their influence, and they were like, we got to just stop and go. And I love that Jesus just waited. Don't clear out the clutter. He waited, and then he stood up. And he looked at the woman. Was it obvious the Pharisees were not there with stones anymore? Because they all left. He looks at the woman, and he said, is there anyone left here to condemn you? No. He didn't say that for his benefit. He said that for hers. He wanted her to realize, I don't care what they all did about you. Are they here to condemn you now? Good. And then Jesus says, neither do I. Now, Jesus is real. And he also said, go and sin no more. In other words, this adultery thing is over, okay? Don't go sin anymore. The Pharisees wanted to see Jesus, the one who healed, would he give permission to kill? The one who said he came to fulfill the law, would he say, don't obey the law? What would he do? And what Jesus did was, he said, hey, it's both and. The only one who has a right to condemn is the one who was perfect. Let's see John 3:16 and 17 talk about how God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. And I did this in my devotion the other day. He came not to condemn the world, but so that through the world, so that through him, the world might be saved. He didn't come to condemn. He came to give the world a chance. He came to give us an opportunity by his grace to get us to come to heaven. He gave us a shot. The only one who had the right to condemn said, I'm not going to condemn, I'm going to love. Who am I, David Bonclair, to step up, and I don't know your name. What's your name?
Lori.
Hi, Lori. Who am I to step up to Lori and say, hey, by the way, I'm going to call out your business, and I'm condemning you right now. Who am I? Because see, I'm not perfect either. You don't know my business, I don't know yours. You may know some of my business. I may know yours. Either way. You ever heard that saying? I know I've said it before. Don't judge somebody else just because they sin differently than you. Hello? We're so quick with that. We're so quick with that. But don't judge somebody else just because they sin differently than you. Now, does that mean to go and sin? What did Jesus say? Go and what?
Sin no more.
Go and what?
Sin no more.
Go and sin no more. When you've been given grace, baby, receive the grace. Thank you so much. I realized that I should have been toast right there, but I'm not. Thank you. I'm going to follow you. A lot of people believe that this woman that was caught in adultery that was not stoned was Mary Magdalene. And we know that Mary Magdalene followed Jesus all the way to the cross. She stayed with him. This adulterous woman, this one who all the people knew because the Pharisees brought her out in public for all people to see, this woman who was viewed as a piece of trash, said, I could care less what y'all people think. I'm with Jesus. I'm with him. Because see, I'm not trash anymore. I'm not trash anymore. He let me come clean and he let me start new. So I wonder for you, what can you take out of this and where can you go? Where can you go with this? So here's the first one. Okay? First one. Do you judge or do you hold accountable? And that's one thing to see the fruit from somebody. And when I look at Hannah, it's one thing to see, man, There's some fruit that we may want to work on. Come on. But it's a whole other thing to say, whatever. All right? You'll know by their fruit. Edison has the right to call me out. If I sin, if I screw up, he sees me turn around and cuss out Tanner, he's got the right in the brotherhood relationship with me to say, David, what's going on with the mouth, baby? And then to tell me to go fix it. And I got to go make it right. Public sin, public confession. If I cussed him out in front of everybody, then I need to confess it in front of everybody. But if it was just me and Tanner behind closed doors, well, I just need to go do it. Say my bad. But me, my bad. That's totally different. Holding somebody accountable and be like, don't judge me. Don't be killing on to me. No. If I come up and I'm like, hey, I'll go back to Eli. If I go back to Eli, I'm like, hey, what were you doing? Don't judge me. I'm not judging you. I'm trying to help you get right with Jesus. Because how many of you in this room, come on, you know who you are. You're not saying, raise your hand. I don't care if you do or not. If you're a Christ follower, who did you say you're following? Who? Christ. Who made the choice? Did I tell you to follow Jesus, or did you make the choice yourself to follow Jesus? I did. I can't make you follow Jesus. It's just like if I start walking out the door, can I make you follow me, Devin? Can I make you follow me? No. But if you can ever follow me, who chose to follow me? You did. That's right. You chose. If you say you're following Christ, you made that choice. What are you doing with it? So that's all about just, hey, man, Ralph, what's going on, man? Let's get it right. Let's get it right. Now don't be coming, yeah, you idiot, you did it. No. Not backfire on you, just saying. Somebody does that to you, start doodling, all right? So, but accountability is one thing, but don't be judging. These Pharisees, they were all about the judgment. They were judging Jesus. They were judging this woman. They were judging anybody and everybody. Gee, that goes on in our churches today. I wonder why so many people are not coming to Jesus. Come on. Maybe if they started seeing churches say, hey, I'm going to love you. Now, I'm not going to love the sin. There's a famous basketball player just came out that he's gay. And it's all over in the Twitter world and the Facebook world or whatever that when Tim Tebow said he was a Christian, the media told him to shut up and keep it to himself. When he comes out and says, I'm going to say his name for those of you that don't know who he is. When he comes out and says he's gay, the media is like, he's a hero. No, he ain't no hero because of that. That's a sin. Could he be a hero on the court because he does some good things? Could he go influence other lives for good things that have nothing to do with the sin in his life? Probably. But the coming out that he's gay, that does not make him a hero. At all. At all. At the same time, who am I to be cussing him down about being gay? Does Jesus tell us that we can live that way? No way. Homosexuality is a sin. It is what it is. Who am I to go up there and throw stones at that person? Maybe they need somebody to show them, I don't know, Jesus. Somebody to walk up and say, hey, do you see anybody else condemning you right now? No? Well, I'm not condemning you either. It's okay. You mean my sin's okay? No, I didn't say that. I don't believe it's okay for you to be gay. I don't. If you don't know Jesus, then you don't really have the Spirit in you to change you anyway. But if you're gay, that's a sin. That's something that's wrong. But you know what? And there's times I can lose my temper, and that's a sin too. That's a sin too. I can't judge you. I want you to see the love of my Savior. Because that's who you need. Because that's who I need. Do you judge people, or do you hold them accountable? Okay? Then, go ahead and throw up the second one for me. Do we pick and choose? Look what these Pharisees did, man. They took the Bible, and they took their Deuteronomy verse. They're like, man, the word says that if you catch somebody in adultery, that we're supposed to stone them. If they were following the scripture, who would have been with the woman?
The man.
Who would have been with the woman?
The man.
The man. And he wasn't. They were picking and choosing what they wanted. Do we pick and choose? I either believe this or I don't. I either believe this or I don't. I either say I'm going to follow it or I'm not. I'll tell you what, I have never met a non-Christian, somebody that does not want to follow Christ. I've never met somebody that does not want to follow Christ that will disrespect me because I follow the Word of God. They just want me to own it. They just want me to own it. There's somebody at one of the schools here in town that I heard about, and it's really kind of a cool little deal. They don't really say a whole lot in some of their classes. They were in a class, and this dude, not with the Lord at all, totally claims other random religions. I don't know how you do several religions, but whatever. And pick one, do something. But was going to town, and finally this person said, excuse me, I actually am a believer. And started calling out some stuff. And there were random other people like, oh, I'm a believer. But they weren't matching it up. This person was just pretty straight up. A couple weeks later, conversation was coming up about some Christian stuff. And this guy was kind of going back to town again until this other person was like, oh, no. Seriously, think about this. And that guy was very respectful. Do you know why he was respectful? Because this person followed this. This person was owning it. If you're going to follow it, follow it. If you're going to pick and choose what you believe and follow, dude, that would make me tired. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is not like Golden Corral, Half of us need to rip out half our Bible that we choose not to follow. Just saying. Own it or don't. I may not agree with you if you don't, but at least I'll respect you. All right? At least I'll respect you. Own what you do. Don't pick or choose. Don't pick or choose. Take it all. Then, how do you respond to others? This is the third one. Man, others that come against you. Are you like Jesus? Because we've all been in that spot, right? Where people are coming at us and coming at us and coming at us. How do you respond when others come against you? Look at that one first. Do you have enough in you to say, I'm gonna sit down, In your mind you're thinking, you're welcome that I'm sitting down and keeping my mouth shut right now, because I want to kill you and I'm not going to, so you're welcome. You don't say that because obviously that would defeat the purpose, right? I mean, come on. But y'all know what I'm saying, right? Especially, guys, I know some of y'all know exactly what I'm saying. Some of us get a little fiery sometimes, but I know there's some girls that can heat it up pretty good too. Get a little attitude going on. Y'all know. How do you do? I want to be like Jesus. When people are coming at me, I just want to be like, I'm a dude. Honestly, just so I can keep my mouth shut. And that's hard. Remember that song, I love you more than honor, more than glory? A lot of us sometimes, when people are tearing us down, we want to look at them and be like, getting our honor back, because they were so wrong. These Pharisees were wrong in what they did to Jesus. They were wrong with what they did to him. But Jesus didn't care about his honor and glory. He cared about truth and love. By the way, in the process, the honor and the glory came. Just saying. Because he cared more about truth and love. But how do you respond to others who are in sin? What's up, gossip train? Somebody starts gossiping about somebody, and they're right. I love that. We're not gossiping, it's true. Really? Come on. How do you deal with other people in sin? If I took some of y'all, juniors and seniors, to Iquitos, just so you know, we're actually looking at planning a trip next summer to the streets of Iquitos to minister to and spend time with these kids that are children, teenagers, your age, coming out of prostitution and drugs, selling themselves for $2, just so you know, as a child. How would you look at them? Haley, you want me to believe how you look at them in love? Show me how you look at somebody in love in your school. Because if you can't love somebody in your classroom that you know, go love somebody you don't know. You know what I'm saying? That's just being fake then. That's not real love. Show the love right here. That'll prove you got the love. No question about it. Because to love here, when you know these people, when everybody else is pointing their fingers at these people, that's hard. That's hard. Y'all know it is. Ain't nobody wants to sit at the lunch table with that one girl who was out doing this, that, and other thing. Ain't nobody want to go sit with that guy over there. I mean, he's just a pothead, he's a this, he's a that. Actually, I know somebody that does want to go sit with that person, that girl, that guy. Jesus. How do I know? I've read the book. How do you deal with those caught in sin? And then how do you deal with Jesus? How do you respond to Jesus? Is this last one. If you're one of those ones coming, and you're coming at Jesus because you want your flesh to win the day, you want to have your rights. When Jesus calls you to the table and steps on your toes and says, I don't think so, do you respond and say, I surrender? Because see, I already gave you my life, Jesus, so here you go. My bad. Or are you fighting for it? You can fight Jesus all day, in the end, he's going to win. So why waste your time? Don't fight. Don't fight him. And if Jesus were to pick you up in grace, I bet that woman caught in adultery, I bet everybody they ever passed, everybody they passed, I bet that woman offered love. Because she knew what it was like to feel like trash. She knew what it was like to be judged. She knew what it was like to be played. She knew what it was like to have everybody in the world know all your stuff about you. She knew what it was like. But see, here's what she did. She chose to let Jesus have her instead of making an excuse to go live any other way. She could have looked at Jesus and said, thanks, Jesus. Everybody knows my business, so even though you're not condemning me either, even though you're showing me grace, Jesus, I'm going to spit it back in your face. She could have done that because people do that. Maybe don't be that person. Don't ever be that person. When Jesus gives you grace, take it. Take it. Own it. Because see, he didn't have to. Nobody took his life from him. He laid it down willingly. For you. For you. So I want you to close your eyes, and I want to land this with something. I'm not used to doing this on a normal basis. I don't. But I want to tonight. I really feel we need to tonight. And if you're listening to this message right now, you've been listening to me talk, share his word, I want to ask you a question. And I want nobody, man, out of respect, nobody looking around at anybody. Just think about yourself for a second. How many of you have been playing that role of a Pharisee, pointing your fingers at everybody else's business, getting ready to cast a stone? How many of you need to drop some stones tonight? Will you give that over right now? Will you ask God to take whatever that stone is? Whoever your target was, will you ask God to forgive you for that? How many of you are like that woman? You need some grace. If I were to ask you tonight, that if you know without a shadow of a doubt that you would go to heaven, you know you have surrendered your life to Jesus Christ, you know that. Would you raise your hand? Nobody look, just me. Would you slip your hand up? If you know without a shadow of a doubt you gave your life to Jesus, you surrendered to him, would you testify with your hand? All right. All right. So those of you that just raised your hand, my question to you, still everybody eyes closed and all that, just think, because all I'm asking you to do. Everybody that just raised their hand that knows you're following Christ, are you still following him? Would would you ask him to let it be so obvious that you are? And I pray for you guys all the time because I know it's not easy. I'm so thankful for his grace that he lets us fall. How many of you in this room that would say, I don't know that I'd be going to heaven? I don't know. I have not surrendered to actually become a Christ follower yet. I haven't done that. So if I were to die, I have no idea if I go to heaven or not. How many of you would say that's you tonight? Slip it up. If that's you, slip it up. You see, it's just me, all right? I promise you right now, I'm the only one looking at your hand. Your hands. I promise you, I'm in. Wow. Wow. If you want to receive Christ, if you want to know without a shadow of a doubt that you can go to heaven, you can. I promise you that right now, you can. Just like he told that woman to go and sin no more and offer her that freedom in life and didn't condemn her. He did the same thing for me. And I know he'll do the same thing for you. All you got to do is ask him in your life if you want him. Ask him to forgive you of your sins. And ask him to be your Lord. Give him your life. Give him your heart. It may not always be easy because everybody's always watching you. But who cares? He's the one that gave you the grace. If you're wanting to make that decision tonight, I want to ask you that when we're done, that you would just come talk to myself or to Joni or to David. They're in here right now. Actually, seniors this year, current seniors, if you don't mind, if you get up and go to the back of the room. Current seniors.